Have you ever felt that subtle yet persistent restlessness, like something is missing, even when everything in your life seems to be in place? It's as if there's an unfillable void deep inside, a constant sense of yearning for something you can't quite define. Maybe you've tried to fill that emptiness with success, relationships, or distractions, only to find that the feeling creeps back in, stronger each time. I've been there, trapped in a cycle of seeking, only to realize that nothing outside could ever quench that thirst for something deeper. It was then that I stumbled upon a life-changing path, the teachings of Kriya Yoga as shared by Paramahansa Yogananda. He showed me that the true solution to this inner pain isn't found outside, but lies deep within, waiting to be awakened. And that's what I want to share with you today. When I was caught up in this turmoil, it felt like life was slipping through my fingers. It's like trying to hold on to water. No matter how tightly you grasp, it just flows away. I would wake up each morning with a sense of fatigue, even after a full night's sleep. The weight of a restless mind, overflowing with fragmented thoughts and anxieties, drained my energy. And this mental discomfort didn't stay confined to my head. It spread throughout my body, creating inexplicable aches and a constant lack of vitality. As the days passed, I realized this state of mind was affecting every part of my life, my mood, my decisions, and even my relationships. The smallest issues turned into huge problems. Every conversation felt like an obstacle, and every task felt like a burden. A growing resentment took root, as if something essential was missing and I couldn't figure out what it was. This quiet frustration created a rift between me and those I cared about. I became reactive, impatient, and at times even indifferent. This cycle of negative emotions brought on guilt and self-criticism. I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't see a way out. Maybe you know this feeling too, the experience of looking inward and seeing a hyperactive mind, jumping from one thought to the next, never finding rest. It's like your mind is a maze without exits, where restlessness and stress are the only companions that stay. During this period, I tried to meditate on my own, but it was frustrating. My mind simply wouldn't cooperate. The harder I tried to silence my thoughts, the louder they became. I didn't know how to deal with it. My mind was like a stormy ocean, and I had no clue how to reach the calm waters below the surface. It felt hopeless to keep trying, only to end up in the same restless state over and over again. Then, almost by chance, I came across the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda and his approach to Kriya Yoga. Something about his words resonated deeply within me. It was as if he was speaking directly to that restless place I had been trying to ignore for so long. A small spark of hope was lit. Maybe, just maybe, I had finally found the answer I'd been searching for. When you're caught in the grip of this inner turmoil, it's not just your mind that suffers. Every aspect of your life gets affected. I remember feeling completely out of sync, like I was living in a fog. My energy would fluctuate wildly throughout the day. Some moments, I'd feel a surge of motivation, only to be followed by a deep sense of lethargy and purposelessness. It's like being on an emotional roller coaster that you can't get off of, and every high is quickly shadowed by an even steeper low. I found myself snapping at loved ones, withdrawing from social interactions, and isolating myself more and more. My relationships, once sources of joy and connection, started to feel strained and distant. The people closest to me didn't understand what was happening, and neither did I. They would ask, "What's wrong?" And the truth is, I didn't know. How could I explain that it was like battling an invisible storm that no one else could see or feel? Work didn't bring satisfaction anymore. It became just another checkbox to tick off, another task to get through. I wasn't living, I was merely existing. The drive and passion I once felt vanished, replaced by a dull numbness. I felt like I was losing myself, my identity, my dreams, my spirit toll, eroded by this relentless sense of emptiness and unease. And the worst part was that I didn't know how to make it stop. Sleep, which should have been a refuge, turned into a restless cycle of tossing and turning, waking up with the same fatigue I went to bed with. The mind wouldn't quiet down, no matter how tired the body was. Every unresolved thought, every lingering worry, replayed itself endlessly. I was trapped in a loop that drained my life force, day by day. It's hard to describe the frustration of knowing you're not okay but not being able to fix it. I tried everything: distractions, advice from friends, even therapy, but nothing seemed to penetrate that thick cloud of unrest that clung to me. It was then that I realized I needed something deeper. I needed more than just external solutions or temporary relief. I needed to heal at the very core of my being. When I first encountered the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, it felt like someone had finally turned on a light in a pitch-dark room. He spoke of an inner peace that wasn't dependent on external circumstances, a peace that could be accessed through a specific practice, Kriya yoga. His words weren't just intellectual concepts. They resonated deeply within me, like he was describing a truth I had always known but somehow forgotten. I felt a glimmer of hope, a feeling I hadn't experienced in a long time. Yogananda described Kriya Yoga as a direct path to self-realization, a practice that could help still the restless mind and awaken a profound sense of inner tranquility. It wasn't just about meditation. It was a science of controlling the breath and energy, a way to harmonize body, mind, and soul. As I read more about it, something clicked. This wasn't another superficial solution. It was an invitation to delve deep within and connect with the essence of my being. I started practicing the basic techniques, cautiously optimistic, but still skeptical. Yet, the first time I sat down and followed the steps, I felt a subtle shift. It was as if the raging storm inside me had quieted just a bit. My thoughts, which usually raced uncontrollably, began to slow down. For the first time in a long while, I experienced a fleeting moment of stillness, a glimpse of something calm beneath all the chaos. As I continued, day after day, that stillness grew. It wasn't a sudden, overwhelming change, but a gradual unfolding. The breath control exercises seemed to create a space between my thoughts, allowing me to observe them without getting caught up. I began to notice how much of my anxiety was self-created, fueled by my own mind's incessant chatter. The deeper I went into the practice, the more I could feel layers of accumulated stress and tension starting to dissolve. That's when I realized Kriya Yoga wasn't just calming my mind. It was purifying my entire being. The sense of restlessness began to lose its grip. The knots of anxiety in my chest started to loosen. And in that newfound stillness, I started to hear a whisperer voice of intuition, clarity, and inner guidance that I had long silenced. This was the beginning of a profound transformation, one that would change my life forever. As I immersed myself in the teachings of Kriya Yoga, I began to understand why Yogananda called it a science of the soul. The core practices were designed not only to quiet the mind, but to cleanse the energy centers of the body and align them with the highest states of consciousness. Through specific breath control techniques and deep meditation, Kriya Yoga allowed me to work directly with the life force, or prana, that flows within. The first step was learning to control my breath through a series of rhythmic breathing exercises. These weren't just about inhaling and exhaling. They were precise techniques that directed energy through the body's energy centers, or chakras, as I practiced. I could feel the energy begin to move in ways I'd never experienced before, gentle currents rising and falling, as if my entire being was being purified from the inside out. One of the core practices, the Kriya Pranayama, involves drawing the breath up and down the spine, visualizing it, cleansing and energizing each chakra. With each breath, I felt a release, subtle yet powerful, letting go of years of pent-up tension and emotional blockages. It was like opening windows in a dusty, closed-off room, allowing fresh air and light to flood in. Each session left me feeling lighter, clearer, and more centered. Over time, I realized that these practices weren't just about momentary relief. They were rewiring my entire mental and emotional framework. The constant mental chatter that used to dominate my thoughts started to quiet down, replaced by a sense of spaciousness and clarity. My mind, once scattered and chaotic, began to feel like a calm, reflective lake, undisturbed by the storms of daily life. And it wasn't just my mind that changed, my entire perception of life shifted. I began to see patterns of thinking and behavior that had kept me trapped in cycles of anxiety and discontent. Through the deep focus and introspection that Kriya Yoga encourages, I started to unravel those patterns, replacing them with a deeper awareness and compassion for myself. This wasn't a quick fix or a temporary escape. It was a real transformation at the core of my being. As my practice deepened, I started to notice how the changes within me were creating a ripple effect across every aspect of my life. The peace and clarity I experienced during meditation began to spill over into my daily activities. I became more present, more aware of my thoughts and emotions. The irritability that used to flare up unexpectedly was replaced by a calm acceptance. Instead of reacting impulsively, I found myself pausing, taking a breath, and responding with greater patience and understanding. My relationships, once strained and distant, began to heal. Friends and family members, who used to tiptoe around my unpredictable moods, noticed the difference. They commented on how I seemed more grounded, more centered. Conversations that once felt heavy and confrontational turned into opportunities for genuine connection. I realized that as I released the inner turbulence, I was creating space for deeper, more meaningful interactions. The peace I was cultivating within became a magnet for harmony in my outer world. Work, which had once felt like a draining obligation, transformed as well. I started to approach each task with a sense of purpose and intention. The fog of confusion and lack of motivation lifted, replaced by a newfound clarity and focus. It wasn't just about getting things done, it was about doing them with presence and mindfulness. Deadlines and challenges that used to overwhelm me no longer triggered anxiety. Instead, they became opportunities to test my new state of calm and balance. Even my health took a turn for the better. The tension and restlessness that had caused insomnia and physical discomfort began to dissipate. I started sleeping better, waking up refreshed and energized. It was as if my body, mind, and spirit were realigning, synchronizing in a way I'd never thought possible. This wasn't just mental or emotional healing, it was holistic, reaching every level of my being. The most profound change, however, was the sense of inner freedom I began to feel. No longer trapped in my own mind's chaos, I could finally experience moments of true peace, moments where everything was still, and I could feel a deeper connection with myself and the universe. It was in these moments that I truly understood what Yogananda meant by self-realization. It's not just about achieving calm, it's about uncovering a limitless source of peace and joy that has always been within. With each breath and each meditation, I began to realize that the journey of Kriya Yoga is not about reaching a final destination, but about embracing every step along the way. The more I practiced, the more I understood that self-realization is a process of peeling back layers of conditioning, fear, and doubt to reveal the pure essence of who we truly are. It's not a path for the faint-hearted, but for those who are willing to look within and face both their light and their shadows. There were days when sitting in silence felt like the hardest thing in the world, when old fears and unresolved emotions surfaced, testing my resolve. But it was in those moments of discomfort that I found the deepest growth. The practice of Kriya Yoga taught me to stay with myself, to breathe through the discomfort, and to witness my thoughts and feelings without judgment. It's in this courageous witnessing that true transformation happens, slowly but steadily. The rewards of this journey are beyond what words can capture. As the layers of restlessness and doubt were peeled away, I began to touch the profound stillness and joy that Yogananda spoke of. It's a joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances, a joy that arises from simply being. In those moments of deep meditation, when the mind finally quiets and the breath flows effortlessly, I experienced a state of oneness that transcended everything I thought I knew. This path has also shown me that the real purpose of Kriya Yoga is not just to find peace for oneself, but to become a source of peace for the world around you. The inner harmony we cultivate naturally radiates outward, touching the lives of those we interact with. It's not just about self-realization, it's about collective transformation. Each of us, through our own inner work, contributes to a more conscious and compassionate world. So, as I continue on this journey, I understand that the practice of Kriya Yoga is a lifelong commitment to growth, to truth, and to love. It's a reminder that the answers we seek are not in the distractions of the external world, but within the depths of our own being. The peace we long for is already inside us, waiting to be discovered through patient practice and unwavering faith. If you've been feeling that same restlessness, that inner void, I invite you to consider that the answer may not be something you can find outside yourself. What if Instead of searching for fulfillment out there, you turned your gaze inward. What if you allowed yourself to sit quietly, even for a few minutes each day, and connect with the breath, with the subtle energy within you? Are you ready to start peeling back the layers and explore the peace that's been waiting for you all along? The path of Kriya Yoga is one that takes courage, commitment, and faith, but I promise you, it's worth it. Imagine the possibilities if you could move through life with a sense of unshakable calm, groundedness, and joy. So, take a deep breath. Feel the stillness that exists between your breaths. That's where it all begins. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Let's continue this journey together, exploring more of Yogananda's teachings and how they can transform your life. Because the peace you're seeking is already within you, all you need to do is unlock it.